Hey there, I'm working on a MOBA where you can select a bunch of different characters, and I plan on having around 100 or so options available at the start of the game when it comes out. You can see here I've got a couple of them in there, and all of these characters, the tower's not supposed to be selectable, but all the rest of them have abilities and attacks with different animations and particle effects. And setting all of that stuff up could take me a long time, as well as putting in characters, but I've got a system that makes it extremely easy so I can drop in whatever character I want and set up the animations and effects really quickly. So today I'm going to show you part of that system. I'll show you the ability effects system, how you can use it to make abilities or really cool effects in your own games, and it's code that you can just copy straight over. It's not directly tied to this project and not very opinionated. It'll work on pretty much any character that you want with any particle effects. Before we look at the code, let's take a look at the system in action. You can see on the left and the right, I've got lists of all of my characters, and I can just go select one of them, like the elite trooper on the left and maybe the ladybug on the right, hit the trooper shot and watch him animate, shoot, and hit the ladybug. You can also add in multiple characters if I just hold shift, and then he can shoot at all three of them, so I can test out my AoE abilities. Now, he can also fire off other things like this spore shot, or maybe try saber slash. Doesn't look very good or work well with that one. Or maybe this water ball purple splash thing. He can actually use any of the abilities, and that's kind of one of the cool effects or cool things about this system, is that you can test out any of the abilities on any of the characters along with the impacts. And we can modify and change them at runtime. Let's take a look at another one like this hornet. That one had that hornet sting, and you can see that you shoot something right out his butt and it goes flying at the enemies. So let's see how this all works and how it's put together, and then how it ties into the game. If I unmaximize, you can see that I've just got an ability effect scene, and it looks like a little debug updater thing. I'm not even sure what that is in the don't destroy on load. And with a couple objects in it. Let's stop playing and see what happens here and what we've got. We've actually got a couple extra objects that I can delete, some extra ability effects that were sitting there. A prefabs manager that we don't actually need either, something from the game side that isn't used in here. And then we've got this ability effects tester script. This thing takes a caster and a list of targets, and then an ability effect definition, and then you can click this button to play the effect. Now, it's intentionally this flexible, so I can do crazy stuff like grab some spaceships, drag them out, maybe shrink them down a little bit, put them down to 0.1, 0.1, and 0.1, and then assign them into my effects tester. So I can give them my caster will be number 12, and then I'll put here this one in the other spot. And if I go to my game view, I can see that I can shoot all the way across. I think that they're maybe a little bit too far apart, but you get the idea. I can put in any object that I want. Here, let's just move these a little bit closer together. I can position them however I want, and then I can make them shoot at each other or do whatever different effect that I want. Of course, once I have an idea that I want to use something, I just add it into my characters, and then it shows up on my list, and then I can have it become a target. So I can start using any of these attack abilities and start firing them off. Now, this one is just shooting without an animation. That's because it doesn't have an animator controller. Let's take a look at how animations and all of these particles are hooked up in here and how this all works. What does this play effects button do, and how are these ability effects definitions set up? Let's start by looking at the ability effects and the way that they're defined. I have here a folder of ability effects, and this is a scriptable object. You can see one definition right here. It's an ability effects definition for the lava smash. If I click on it right here, you see that it's this guy doing a swing attack. He winds up and then shoots off some fire. And then if you'll notice, that ladybug is actually taking some damage, not playing an impact animation for some reason. That's a surprise. Let's take the animation there. That's where it's supposed to be. If I now modify it or hit it again, boom, now it plays it. It's supposed to play the target animation. Impact animation is for the projectiles. Now, this thing waits for about 1.2 seconds. If I put that down to a 0, let's just cut that out down to a 0 real quick, and you can see what that would look like. Let's see, lava smash. Now it just instantly does it, and obviously that's not right. So being able to just modify the delay in there makes it really easy. I've got a delay for the caster and then a delay for the target too. Notice that that doesn't hit instantly. The effect on the guy comes slightly after, 0.5 seconds after to be specific. Now here I can define the effects, and if I want, I can just go in and change them. I could change this to be like a feather effect so that when we do the lava smash, it goes on and then, hey, it gets a weird little feather. Probably not the effect that I want to go with. I'll switch it back to fireball. But having a system like this means that when I'm playing, I can also go in, change any of these ability effects and change any of these bits of data here and have it work while I'm playing, running in game, and tune things, or more often do it right in here where I want to test different stuff out. Let's take a look at the code now and see how it all works, and then we'll dive into some of these other fields and see how they're set up. We'll start with the tester code. It's really simple. We've got a single method here, play effects, and this is actually called from those other menu buttons that you saw in the UI as well. So I've got a button here using the Odin button option. I'll leave a link for that down below. If you haven't used Odin, you should definitely go try it out. But all it does is create a game object here, name it ability effects. It adds the ability effects component, sets the caster, the targets, the definition, and then tells it to play. Now, of course, this is not super optimized, and it could pull these things, reuse them, and it will eventually. But for now, it just creates one and then throws it away because that's a very simple problem to solve afterwards. The hard part is making it so that everything can be put in as quickly as possible and that the data can be tested and added. Let's go take a look at the ability effects. We've already seen the ability effects definition. Actually, I'm going to hit F12 on it just so you can see what it looks like, and please don't kill me for the naming because it's got terrible naming schema right now. It has a bunch of public fields with underscores for the names, which makes me really, really sad, but I just haven't gotten around to hitting the rename hotkey and making them all uppercase and Pascal case. I know if this really bothers you, drop a comment down below, but it will change eventually, and I'll fix that up. But I've already got the data in there, and I just haven't gotten around to making the change. But this is all of the fields that you saw. Notice nothing else in the scriptable object. All of the work is done in this ability effects object. It is set to execute in edit mode, although I found that I no longer need that because I'm always hitting run now and playing it instead of doing it in edit mode like I was initially. It's got a couple things on it. That ability effects definition, the caster and targets, just like we had before. We want to keep track of those for this specific object. We have a game object for our caster effects. That's the object that we're going to instantiate for the caster. A list of them for the target effects, one for things that will fire off on the target immediately, the projectiles that fly to them, and then the impact ones that would fire or fly off to them, or fire off when the projectile hits them. There we go, got my words out. And then finally, a list of coroutines that are running, and this is the routines that are moving the projectiles towards the target. So in the play method, we kick off a coroutine that plays the FX routine, and then in here we do a whole bunch of things. We start by checking to see if we have a caster animation. Again, this underscore, it makes me sad, but I can get over it for now. If we have one, then we get the animator from our caster. If we don't find the animator, we get it from the child. And if we still don't find it, well, we continue on. But if we do find it, we set the trigger for that caster animation. Now, again, could be optimized. Trying to keep it super unopinionated for now, so it's just going to call a get component, and then once it get around to the point where it needs optimization, I spend the 20 minutes wrapping all this stuff up and making it nice and fast. The next part is the caster transform. So we want to find the part on the body where we want to hit. So first thing we do is look for an object by this name. Caster target transform is actually a name, and you see that most of my ability effects, if I can get to them, they're searching for a transform named body. So the target transform is body, and actually the caster one is supposed to be muzzle, and that's where it fires off from. So it'll fire from the muzzle object to the body object. And this is another really interesting and fun thing. Let's take a look at how that works in game and why it's so cool. All right, to make things interesting, let's take a look at a not gelatinous cube using a not stormtrooper shot to blast an insect. You can see right here by default, he's shooting from the base and hitting him on the base. This is actually really easy to adjust, and we don't even have to stop playing. You can control click, let's see, or shift click, there we go, to go select my cube here. I can open it up in prefab edit mode and go find the spots that I want to use as the body and as the muzzle point. So here I'm going to say that I want to shoot maybe like right from the center. This looks kind of center-ish. So I'll add an object here, or right click and hit create empty. We'll name it muzzle. And then I'm going to, I've already got a body added on here, so I don't need to add one of those. Now I'll go back out, save, And check this out. If I go back over to game mode and just respawn a cube, start shooting, and now shoots right out of that muzzle spot. But right now it's hitting this guy, which is this is the mantis, right? Hitting my mantis on the feet. So let's go find the mantis. So again, shift click. Oh, my shift click didn't work that time. Okay, I'll just go find the mantis. Some reason my shift click doesn't always seem to work. But if I find my object here, or I just go to the usual thing I use, V-tabs, makes it so easy to go find stuff. Go find I mantis for insects mantis. Double click on the object here. And we open this one up. What I can do is go find the body spot where I want the center to be. And you'll want to look through the bones here. And usually it's going to be something off of the spine. Maybe pelvis, abdomen, right around here. We'll right click, create an empty, and call it body. We can go back out. Exit back out, go back over to the game view. Again, still playing, don't have to change anything. Go back in and start shooting, and now it's landing right there. Of course, I changed this guy's as the caster, so I should probably give him a point where he can shoot from as well. So let's go back in and add a muzzle. So go back to scene view, and I think I'll use let's just go for like the top of his head or something. His neck, his head, his antenna, maybe like one of his antenna. Like right there, that antenna. I should probably use like a spot right in between the two antennas. I think might be even better. So let's go with the head. We'll add a new object, call this muzzle, and it'll move it up just a little bit and make sure that we're in local space so I can make sure that it's aimed right as well. So then I want to rotate it. What's it going to be, 90 degrees? Nope. And then -90. What I want here is the blue forward and the yellow or the green up. So that way it's aiming forward straight out of his head. It's going to look kind of like a muzzle shot coming out of his head for some things. Might look a little bit weird, but it's a lot better than coming out of the feet. So let's try this out. We get back in and we go repick the mantis and we start shooting trooper shots. And now they come out of his head and they land at the body. Obviously things like the spore splash might look a little bit better, or I don't even remember what his ability is supposed to be. One of these, probably not the fire. Now let's jump over to the code again. So you saw we got that caster target transform. That was the body that I wanted to shoot at. And if we don't find one, then we just use the base. That's why it was going to the feet instead. Then if we have that, once we have that transform, we look to see if we have our caster effects. If we do have a caster effects, then we play it on the caster at that caster transform part. And I lied, this is not the body, this is the muzzle. So this was the muzzle one first, and then we use the other one. Let's continue on. So after we instantiate it, we check to see if we should parent the object or parent the particle to our caster. If so, we just parent it, and then we make sure that it's set active. It is a game object. Sometimes people turn these things off, so I want to make sure that it's on. Plus, when we start pulling it, this would probably get turned off and reused later. Next, we check to see if we have effects for the target. These are the impact ones, or if we have ground target effects. If we do, then we wait for the amount of time for that delay, which is just so that we can wait for the impact. And then we check on 63 to see if we have it at a ground target one. If so, we play that at the position on the ground and we don't parent it to the object. Otherwise, or the other thing that we do, so this also, let me stop for just a moment. This bit of code here for ground target effects is also the thing that would do like your ground circles. So you get a circle on the ground where a spell's landing and fireballs are all hitting. This is the one that would do that. So it'll spawn one right at the object, the first target, basically. So it looks at targets, grabs the first one, and does it right there. Then we loop through all of the targets, the AoE targets, and these ones might need like a little explosion playing on them or something else. And they'll also need to play the animation. This will also hit the first target, so the animation will play. It'll play an animation if one is selected, and then it'll loop through, find the child. This is where it finds the body that I lied about earlier. And then it'll find the target effect and then play it on that one. And then finally, if we have anything that are projectiles, we'll do the caster to target effects. And to do that, we add all of our routines. We go through and loop and add, we say let's see if I can get my words right. We're in a loop right here for targets. So this is the loop of targets. And we're going to, in that loop, add a new coroutine for each one of these that is getting a projectile, a coroutine calling caster to target effects. We add it to this list of coroutines so that on line 110, we can wait for all of them. This will run them all asynchronously. I mean, technically it's not threaded, but it is asynchronously. So it's going to run all of those coroutines and then wait until they've all landed and done their impact. And then once they've done their impact, it will destroy them all. The last bit to look at is the caster to target effects. This is the one that's going to spawn an object at the caster, and then it's going to move it towards the target right here on line 144. So it's going to wait until it gets within 0.1 meters, and until then, it's going to keep moving closer and closer and closer. There is an ability to offset it if you want, using this target impact offset, which I was using to play around with the not stormtroopers missing all of the time, but also for just offsetting the impacts of things. And then at the end, we play the impact animation for all of them that got impacted, and then finally play the impact particle for all of them. This looks like a lot of code, but you have to remember that this is just one line of code here split up so that it's a little bit easier for you to read. And this is setting the object to active and adding it to the list. All of these are really just making sure the objects are around, moving it around, and then making it work. Since it's all done in scriptable objects, it's all just totally optional or totally modifiable at runtime. So you can go in and create new things. You can go create a new entry here, hit refresh, it will reload it from here. You can go add in new characters like I showed you just a little while ago, and you can do it all while you're playing. And then this all, again, works while you're playing the game as well. So this is step one, something to throw together on Wednesday just to make it a little bit easier for me to start putting in effects. You can see I've only got maybe like a little more than a dozen in here so far, but now that I've got this system set up, it's only going to take me a couple hours to put in enough to fill out 50 to 100 characters. And the goal here is to have 100 plus characters you can pick from. So it's got to be a fast, easy process to make sure that I can get the data in, get the content in that I want without wasting any time. So that's all there is to this one. Hopefully this is helpful. If you want the code, it's available on the page at game.courses. I'll make sure to link it down below. And if you have questions about it, drop a comment. If you want to see the game, make sure that you're subscribed. I'll be putting up a bunch of videos about it really soon. Just been putting it together quickly, and it's a lot of fun. It'll be multiplayer, and you'll be able to play it sometime very, very soon. I'll have the demo out as quick as possible. If you want to see that too, just drop a comment down below, and I will maybe add you to the short list. All right, thanks again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check out all the stuff at the page at game.courses, and check out some of the assets. I'll link them down below in the description. Some of the assets that I've used in here. There's a lot of really cool ones. I'm using all stuff from the asset store, using like this. I need to find a tower that I like more, but using all particles and effects and other stuff and characters from the asset store. So if you have recommendations, thoughts, something that you want to see kind of go in, maybe you're like, oh, I really want to see a dragon. Where is that dragon? Where is my... Oh, there he is, young dragon V2. So you're like, oh, I want to see a dragon in there. And then I'll put your dragon in or whatever. And if you got characters or effects that you want to see in too, I'm totally open to just about everything. I'm working on anime characters and a couple other things right now going in. There's even a spaceship. We're just blasting the bad guys. All right, that's it for this video. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to, again, like and subscribe. Drop comments. Let me know what you think. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.